I still remember the sound of my son Oliver's tears hitting that silver dog bowl. The way my mother-in-law Victoria's laughter echoed through her penthouse apartment as she watched him, trembling and thirsty after playing in the summer heat. "Well, go on," she urged, her perfectly manicured hand gesturing to where her prize poodle, Bonaparte, usually drank. "That's more suitable for your background. We can't risk you breaking my Waterford crystal, can we?" I stood in the doorway, my hands clenched into fists, watching my 6-year-old look between the dog bowl and his grandmother. My late husband Thomas had always handled his mother's elitism with quiet dignity, but he wasn't here anymore to shield our son from her cruelty. "Mama?" Oliver's voice quivered, his dark eyes seeking permission, validation, anything to make sense of this humiliation. Actually, I stepped forward, my heels clicking against the marble floor. "We'll be leaving." Victoria's lips curled into a familiar sneer. "Oh, and where will you go?" "That shabby little apartment you can barely afford. At least here, the boy can see how real people live." "Real people?" I echoed, helping Oliver up from the floor. "Is that what you call someone who makes a child drink from a dog bowl?" "Please," she waved dismissively. "You should be grateful I even allow you both in this building. After Thomas's unfortunate investment decisions before his accident, you're hardly the caliber of resident we maintain here at the Wellington." If she only knew. I gathered our things while Victoria continued her usual tirade about how her son should have married someone more suitable instead of his immigrant secretary. How Oliver would never fit into her social circle with his common ways. How generous she was to even acknowledge us after Thomas's death left us nearly penniless. Nearly. What Victoria didn't know, what no one knew, was that Thomas and I had been playing a long game. While she thought I was just his secretary turned wife, I had been his silent investment partner for years. Every unfortunate investment decision she mocked was actually a carefully planned move in a much larger strategy. "Remember, Oliver," Victoria called as we headed for the door. "Next time bring your own cup. Bonaparte's bowl is actually quite expensive." I paused, turning back to face her. "How much does this building mean to you, Victoria?" She blinked, thrown by the sudden change in topic. "The Wellington? It's only the most prestigious address in the city. Not that you understand property values. And your apartment? The one Thomas helped you secure. What about it?" Her perfectly threaded eyebrows drew together. "Just curious about your lease terms," I said mildly. "They're up for review soon, aren't they?" "My lease is ironclad," she scoffed. "I'm a founding resident. The owner would never." "The owner might surprise you," I cut in, watching her face. "Things change. Properties get sold. New management comes in." For just a moment, uncertainty flickered across her features. "What are you implying?" "Nothing at all." I smiled, squeezing Oliver's hand. "Just making conversation about property values, since I don't understand them at all." As we rode the elevator down, Oliver looked up at me. "Mama, why does Grandma hate us?" "She doesn't hate us, sweetheart." I smoothed his hair. "She hates herself, and we're just convenient targets. But don't worry, things are about to change." In the lobby, Marcus, the building manager, caught my eye. A slight nod confirmed what I already knew. The papers had been filed. The Wellington was officially mine, purchased through a series of shell companies and offshore accounts that Thomas and I had set up years ago. Victoria's precious penthouse apartment, the lease she thought was ironclad, was about to get very interesting. "Mrs. Torres," Marcus called softly as we passed. "The documents you requested are ready for review." "Thank you, Marcus," I replied. "And the other matter?" "All security footage from the penthouse has been archived, as requested." Victoria had no idea that her exclusive building had top-of-the-line security cameras in every common area, including her precious private hallway. Every snide comment, every humiliation she'd inflicted on Oliver and me over the past year was documented. "Mama?" Oliver tugged at my hand as we reached our car. "Can we get ice cream?" "Of course, baby." I helped him into his car seat, noticing how he was still eyeing the water bottle in his cup holder like it might turn into a dog bowl. "And tomorrow, we're going to move into a new apartment." "Where?" "Right here at the Wellington." I smiled, watching his eyes widen. "In fact, we're taking the whole east wing of the 10th floor. But Grandma said we're not good enough." Grandma's about to learn some very important lessons about what good enough really means. I started the car, catching a glimpse of Victoria watching us from her window. And her first lesson starts tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp. As we pulled away from the Wellington, I couldn't help but smile. Victoria had always said I didn't understand property values. She was about to learn just how wrong she was, one lease violation at a time. At precisely 9 a.m. the next morning, Victoria received her first notification from the building's new management company. I watched through the security feed as she opened the formal envelope over her morning coffee. Immediate lease review required, violations reported. Her perfectly composed face crumpled as she read further. The letter detailed every instance of harassment caught on camera over the past year, including yesterday's dog bowl incident. Each violation was time-stamped, documented, and accompanied by still photos. Her phone rang exactly 3 times before she answered. "Marcus," she barked into the receiver. "What is the meaning of this? My lease is guaranteed by the original owner." "The ownership has changed, Mrs. Montgomery," Marcus replied smoothly. "And the new owner is very concerned about reports of resident harassment." "Harassment? That's absurd. I demand to speak with the new owner immediately." "Of course. The owner will meet with you at 11 a.m. penthouse inspection to follow." "Inspection?" Her voice rose an octave. "No one inspects my penthouse." "It's in the lease terms you signed, Mrs. Montgomery. Annual inspections are mandatory, though the previous owner never enforced them." I could practically hear her teeth grinding through the security feed. Victoria had always treated the Wellington like her personal kingdom, with her penthouse as her castle. The thought of anyone inspecting her domain was probably giving her hives. At 10:45, I walked into the Wellington's lobby with Oliver, both of us impeccably dressed. The residents who usually ignored us suddenly couldn't look away. Word of new ownership had spread fast, and everyone was curious about the mysterious buyer. "Mrs. Torres," Marcus greeted us formally, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Your new residence is ready. Shall we do the final walkthrough of the East Wing before your meeting?" The elderly couple waiting for the elevator nearly gave themselves whiplash turning to stare at us. Our new apartment was actually 5 combined units, transformed into a stunning living space that made Victoria's penthouse look modest. Oliver ran from room to room, his eyes wide with wonder. "Mama, look. My room has a telescope." "Perfect for stargazing, sweetheart," I smiled. "Why don't you stay here with Miss Sarah while I handle some business?" I nodded to his new nanny, a warm-hearted woman who had already set up art supplies in his study area. At exactly 11 a.m., I walked into the building's conference room where Victoria was waiting. Her face went through several interesting colors when she saw me. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. "I'm waiting for the owner." "You're looking at her," I said, sitting down across from her. Surprised? "This is impossible," she whispered. "You're nothing. You have nothing." Actually, I slid a folder across the table. "I have everything, including video evidence of you forcing my son to drink from a dog bowl." Her hands shook as she opened the folder. Inside were dozens of photos. Every snide comment, every orchestrated humiliation she'd subjected us to over the past year, documented in high-resolution color. "You can't," she started. "Can't what?" "Evict you? Actually, I can. Your lease has a moral conduct clause. The previous owner never enforced it, but I'm not the previous owner. Thomas would never allow this." "Thomas," I said quietly, "helped set this up. Every bad investment you mocked him for was part of our plan. We were building something together, Victoria. Something bigger than your petty prejudices." She sat back, deflated. "What do you want?" "First, you're going to write a formal apology to Oliver. Then you're going to read it in front of the Residents Association at their next meeting." "You can't be serious." "Oh, I am. And after that, you're going to take sensitivity training courses. Weekly. If you want to keep your precious penthouse, you'll need to prove you can behave like a decent human being." "And if I refuse?" I smiled, gathering my papers. "Then you can explain to your social circle why you're being evicted from the Wellington. I'm sure they'd love to see the video of you forcing a 6-year-old to drink from a dog bowl." Victoria's face had lost all color. "You've been planning this all along." "Now, Victoria, you did this to yourself. I just bought the building that had the best security cameras." As I stood to leave, she called out, "Where will you live?" "The East Wing, 10th floor. Oliver's room has a lovely telescope. He can wave to Bonaparte from there, at eye level." The realization that we would be residents, prestigious ones at that, seemed to finally break something in her carefully maintained facade. I could have been a real grandmother to him, she whispered, more to herself than to me. Yes, I agreed, you could have. Instead, you chose to be cruel to a child who only wanted your love. Now you get to live with those consequences. As I walked out, I heard her muffled sobs. Part of me felt a twinge of sympathy, but then I remembered Oliver's tears hitting that silver dog bowl. Some lessons have to be learned the hard way. The next month at the Wellington brought changes no one could have predicted. Victoria, faced with either compliance or eviction, chose an unexpected third option: growth. Her first public apology to Oliver at the Residents Association meeting was stilted and clearly rehearsed, but the shame in her eyes was real, especially when the other residents, now aware of her behavior, treated her with the same cold disdain she'd shown others for years. "I'm sorry," she'd said, her voice trembling. "I forgot what it means to be a grandmother. I forgot what it means to be human." Oliver, showing more grace than I could have at his age, had simply hugged her and said, "It's okay, Grandma. Everyone makes mistakes. That's what Mama says." That hug broke something in Victoria's carefully constructed walls. Maybe it was the unconditional forgiveness children offer so freely, or maybe it was finally seeing herself through others' eyes. Whatever the cause, the change began that day. She started her sensitivity training without further complaint. Her instructor, a no-nonsense former judge, reported that Victoria was actually trying, really trying. "Your mother-in-law asked me something interesting today," the instructor told me over coffee. She wanted to know if her own mother's cruelty justified her behavior toward Oliver. I told her that understanding the source of our pain doesn't excuse passing it on. One morning, about 6 weeks after our takeover, Victoria knocked on our door. She was holding Bonaparte's silver water bowl. "I want to get rid of this," she said quietly, "and I'd like to buy Oliver a telescope for his room. A better one, if that's allowed." I studied her face, searching for any trace of manipulation. I found none. "He'd like that," I finally said, "but you'll have to ask him yourself." Watching Victoria navigate a real relationship with her grandson was like watching someone learn to walk again after an injury. There were stumbles, hesitations, and occasional falls back into old patterns. But she kept trying. The building's social dynamics shifted too. Other residents, following their new owner's lead, began breaking down the artificial barriers that had divided the elite from the common folk. The Wellington staff found themselves invited to events they used to serve at. Children from different backgrounds played together in the garden. "You've changed everything," Marcus commented one evening. And not just the building. He was right. But the biggest change came 3 months after our move, during Oliver's 7th birthday party. Victoria arrived early, helping with decorations. She didn't comment on the mix of guests. Children from Oliver's public school alongside the offspring of millionaires. Instead, she worked quietly, hanging streamers with the same care she once reserved for arranging her precious art collection. During the party, one of her social circle friends made a snide comment about the diverse guest list. "Those children," Victoria said clearly, loudly enough for everyone to hear, "are my grandson's friends. And if you can't respect that, you can leave through the service entrance since you're so fond of separation." The woman left, sputtering. Victoria caught my eye across the room and gave a small nod. Later that night, after the party, she helped clean up, despite having never cleaned anything in her life before. "I've been thinking," she said, carefully wrapping leftover cake, "about selling the penthouse." "Oh, yes, it's too big for just me and Bonaparte." And she hesitated. "I thought I might look at one of the regular floors, where the real people live." I hid my smile. "The east wing has an opening, 10th floor. Next to you." She looked uncertain. Would you be comfortable with that?" "That depends," I said. "Can you promise never to serve drinks in daub bowls?" Her face fell for a moment before she caught my slight smile. "I deserve that. I'll deserve it for a long time." "Yes," I agreed. "But deserving something and holding onto it are different things. Oliver's teaching me that." Victoria glanced toward the window where Oliver was using his new telescope, her gift, to stare at the stars. "He's a better person than I am," she said softly. "He's a child," I corrected, "pure and untainted by prejudice. Our job is to keep him that way." "Our job?" She looked at me hopefully. Yes, our job. Family is family, Victoria, even when they drink from the wrong cups. She laughed then, a real laugh, not her usual social titter. I suppose I needed someone to buy my building to teach me that. No, I said, gathering my coat, ready to head home. You just needed someone to show you that true class has nothing to do with crystal glasses or silver dog bowls. It's about how you treat people when no one's watching. Or, she smiled ruefully, when everyone's watching through security cameras. That too, I agreed. That too.